From a bulk carrier in the China seas that battled Storm Force 12 conditions, and a tanker off the coast of Portugal that withstood relentless waves, to a Russian ship in the Baltic Sea that was nearly ripped to pieces, and much more. Here are some of the craziest moments of ships in monster waves. The Beaufort wind scale measures storms on the open ocean and rates them between a storm force of 0 and 12. Storm force 0 means the water is calm, almost mirror-like. Storm force 12 means you're likely caught in the eye of a hurricane. This bulk carrier sailing off the coast of northern China learned how powerful Storm Force 12 waves can be when it encountered a typhoon on the open ocean. Watch as the waves knock this massive vessel around like a toy, causing it to pitch and roll at a frightening angle. The storm continued, but it seemed as though the worst was behind them. The ship battled until the end and eventually made its way to calmer waters. According to The Guardian, typhoons and monsoon rains in the China Seas are why the region is responsible for the most ship-related casualties each year. There's a reason commercial seafaring is among the most dangerous jobs on Earth. The key to surviving monster waves is to face them head-on. That's what this oil tanker did when it encountered hurricane-force winds off the coast of Portugal. Watch as the captain keeps the bow pointed straight ahead and rides the waves up and down like a wild amusement park ride. Right here, you can hear how hard the water hits the bridge windows. The impact would easily be enough to knock you off your feet. At that point, you'd be at the mercy of these 30-foot walls of water. Think about that for a moment. Each wave lifted this vessel roughly 30 feet into the air before slamming it down again. It makes you appreciate what these ship workers go through every day to keep the world running smoothly. Of all the places to run out of fuel, the middle of the Indian Ocean is among the worst. Now imagine that a storm is fast approaching and your only hope is a rescue vessel that's somewhere on the horizon. That's what happened to these Indian fishermen in December of 2019. Their trawler ran out of gas and stalled on the open water. Thankfully, their distress call was received and a rescue ship arrived in time. The rescuers tied up the ship and brought the crew aboard. Now all they had to do was survive the storm.
Asuk. Anjay, kelem. Wai. Woo! Woo! Ngeri. Ngeri, bro. Badai. Trans bersolar. Oi! Woo! Hey! Botol. Sun Venture.
At least the crew was in good spirits as they watched the waves thrash their trawler. We're guessing they were happy to be on board a more stable ship. The Southern Ocean is the second smallest of the 5 primary oceans, edging out the Arctic Ocean by about 3 million square miles. It forms a ring around Antarctica and sinks to a depth of over 24,000 feet in some places. Temperatures range between 25 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and winds and waves can easily reach hurricane force. All of this is to say that the Southern Ocean is among the most ruthless places on Earth. That makes it the ideal training ground for the U.S. Navy SEALs. Watch as this exercise almost goes horribly wrong when a small Navy boat gets caught in Storm Force 12 waves.
It's dangerous, bro. Delete the pornos, bro.
Thankfully, the crew members were able to navigate the rough waters and return to the main ship unharmed. If this showing didn't earn them an A+ on their Navy report cards, we don't know what will. The Southern Ocean is so rough because it forms a complete and unbroken circle around Antarctica. The wind flows freely, and the lack of land keeps the area extremely cool. Storms build without crashing into anything, which allows the waves to grow with them. If these Navy cadets can survive here, they can survive anywhere. The Baltic Sea is an arm of the northern Atlantic, surrounded by Scandinavia to the north, Europe to the south, and Russia to the east. It's the world's largest brackish water basin, meaning it's less salty than the open ocean, but far more salty than fresh water. These Russians got to taste that brackish water while piloting an oil tanker across the Baltic. A storm kicked up out of nowhere, sending waves so large and powerful that they forced this captain to scream a few dirty Russian words.
Блять, действительно повезло, как только это все закончилось хуёво. Ой-ой-ой.
Now let's see that again in slow motion. The wave towers over the tanker and then crashes over the bridge structure on the top deck. Unfortunately, the clip cuts as soon as all hell breaks loose, so it's hard to tell how much damage was actually caused. When most people picture cruise ships, they typically think of warm waters and tropical conditions. This ocean adventure off the coast of southern Greenland attempted to flip that script. It was August 29th of 2019. A cruise ship in the Labrador Sea between Canada and Greenland found itself caught in an endless torrent of monstrous swells. Watch as water cascades over the bow and slowly breaks apart pieces of the ship. In case you were wondering what all that rocking looks like from the inside, here's a window shot from one of the common areas. Thankfully, nobody on board was injured during the storm. The ship only suffered a few minor bumps and bruises. It was quickly repaired and back on the water in no time. Maybe next time, these cruise goers will opt for some fun in the sun rather than a day on cold and choppy water. The North Sea is a shallow arm of the Atlantic Ocean located between the British Isles, Northern Europe, and Scandinavia. It covers about 220,000 square miles, but only sinks to an average depth of 95 meters, or roughly 300 feet. The North Sea has long been a primary source of fishing in Europe. If you can brave the rough waters, you can make a decent living hauling Atlantic cod, tuna, and the abundant sand dab. A good haul is worth a lot of money. That's why this fishing trawler was willing to risk everything when it encountered a rough storm on the open water. According to the poster, this video was filmed in February of 2011 off the coast of Shetland, a Scottish island between the UK and Norway. While the video ends with the vessel still caught in the waves, the captain, his crew, and their haul made it back to land safely. The North Sea is dangerous due to its frequent storms and foggy conditions. The shallow depth also causes currents to pull in different directions. Then again, humans have been navigating these waters long before modern ships and safety standards. If the Vikings can do it, so can we. Imagine being stuck in a Storm Force 12 storm for 3 grueling days. That's what happened to these sailors on board a giant chemical tanker in the North Atlantic. They learned rather quickly why this region of the world is famous for its choppy waters and seasick sailors. What you're about to see is only the first day. The weather didn't improve on day 2. In fact, the morning may have made things worse.
Это вообще хреновое. Traffic, call sign Mike Charlie Romeo Charlie 4, call sign Mike Charlie Romeo Charlie 4, descend Hotel, descend Hotel. What's map? 06. Pardonnez-moi, what's that is?
By that afternoon, our crew members were likely used to their topsy-turvy adventure.
There are 50 containers adrift in the ocean chest in position 48 degrees, 43.0 minutes north, and 5 degrees, 58 minutes west. The ocean traffic advises you to have a sharp lookout and navigate with caution in this area. This is the ocean traffic out.
The storm persisted into the night. Thankfully, the chemical tanker was large and structurally sound enough to withstand the relentless waves for 72 hours. You know that relieved feeling you get when you step out of the car after a long ride? We're guessing these sailors felt that times 1,000 once the tanker pulled into port. The Bay of Biscay is a gulf in the North Atlantic located between northern Spain and western France. Parts of the European continental shelf extend far into the bay. Like the North Sea, the shallow waters can trigger intense storms, especially during the winter months. This 12,000-ton merchant navy ship learned that lesson the hard way on March 13th of 2009, when it found itself caught in the middle of Storm Force 10 conditions. According to the crew, the ship narrowly survived the storm and barely made it back to port. The waves allegedly caused so much damage that it's a miracle the vessel didn't sink. The Manly Ferry is a 169-year-old transport service carrying locals from the heart of Sydney, Australia to Manly, a beach peninsula north of the city. Usually, it's a 30-minute sightseeing trip past the Sydney Harbour Bridge and the famous Opera House. You'll typically get a decent view if conditions on the water hold up. On February 3rd of 2013, passengers made the best of a bad situation by standing on the bow as the ship bounced in the rough water. They effectively turned the Manly Ferry into their own personal water park ride. Sights like these are pretty common on the Manly Ferry line. Googling Manly ferry waves returns dozens of images and videos of monstrous waves overtaking the boat. Some passengers are swept off their feet, while others are caught completely off guard. But then there are the locals who know how to embrace the wrath of Sydney Harbour. After all, the warm Australian sun should dry you off pretty quickly. The Superstar Aquarius was a cruise ship owned and operated by Star Cruises, a Malaysian company. It was built in 1993, rebranded in 2007, and then finally scrapped in 2022 after nearly 30 years of service. On August 8th of 2015, Superstar Aquarius was sailing near Taiwan when it got caught in a violent typhoon. One crew member began recording as the ship made its harrowing escape.
But the problem is the gold mine is becoming out.
But it doesn't move.
So far, something not, but because it was the paint trap and the hydroblast was put together.
Thankfully, the Superstar is built to handle these conditions, and the crew is trained for typhoon safety measures. The cruise liner steered clear of the storm and sailed to its home port of Keelung in northern Taiwan. We couldn't determine if the ship was loaded with passengers or if the crew was simply sailing between ports. On January 6th of 2017, a massive tanker ship was sailing through the North Sea after departing from Rotterdam in the Netherlands. The weather was clear and there wasn't a single cloud in the sky. The crew thought they were in for an easy ride. The notoriously choppy North Sea proved them wrong.
Ну я так как раз.
Как 3 метра, тут волны, он уже по 7 метров идут, но прогноз ничего даже не говорит.
Sécurité, sécurité, sécurité. Le code grenier diffuse résultat répondu jusque spécial, cap de la halte à la Vector. Veuillez passer canal 79, personne.
В океане не такая волна, не всегда бывает.
Videos like these demonstrate how unpredictable the ocean can be. Calm skies don't necessarily mean calm water. That's why these sailors and their sea legs are always prepared when the tides inevitably turn. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more just like it, be sure to click the link on screen now. And with that, thank you all for watching, and we hope to see you in the next one.